Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like here in 2021, it is more important than ever for people to just learn how and when to shut the fuck up. Dave Chappelle, comedy veteran, infamous comedian, has recently aired his new comedy special on Netflix. Now, it is within this Netflix special, this comedy special, that Mr. Chappelle makes a small handful of transphobic jokes. Now, I would like to quickly italicize the word jokes. He made a few transgender jokes within this whole comedy performance, and a lot of people are pretty pissed. Now, getting this out of the way really quickly, if you haven't actually watched the Netflix special, or at least read the quotes of what he said, just shut the fuck up, because you don't know what you're talking about. You're just bandwagoning at this point. Now, do I personally find the jokes or lines that he made to be funny myself? Do I personally bust my gut laughing at them? No. However, you will not see me go out and ruin it for other people that could potentially enjoy it, because it is comedy. If he was legitimately making transphobic statements blatantly, just straight up seriously, if this was not a comedic situation, and he was actually going out and saying transphobic things, sure, cancel him. I don't give a shit. But this is a comedy scenario where people are making jokes to each other. Dave Chappelle here is talking to his audience like a lot of people talk to their own friends behind closed doors. Another thing I do want to get out of the way really quick is I am in no place here to tell you whether or not you should be offended by these things, or nor am I trying to be. But if you are offended by these things, you always have the option to not watch it. You always have the option to stop watching it if you already are watching it, and you always have the option to not watch it in the first place. That seems like a pretty basic concept. Most people would be able to wrap their head around, but I guess not in this situation. I've never been a huge stand-up comedy fan in the past. I've watched a few stand-up comedians, Dave Chappelle being one of them, who I don't always find funny, but he does make some clever-ass jokes, and I have liked a few of his appearances here and there. But, regardless, canceling the man for making jokes, it's just not going to change the world in a significant or good way whatsoever. Knocking one singular comedian off of the map for making jokes is not going to, it's not going to push you in any direction whatsoever to stop actual transphobia or actual transphobic hatred being portrayed towards anybody. I'm not a member of the trans community, so like I said, it is not my place here to tell anybody how they should react or how they should be offended. But I've also seen several reports of these trans writers striking from Netflix, protesting against Netflix, quitting their jobs at Netflix, and I just want to kind of make a point here to you guys. Leaving your job at Netflix, I mean, this goes for any job, regardless if you're trans or not. This goes for almost any job, regardless of your position, regardless of what company you work for, regardless of what minority you're a part of. If you leave your job, there is always someone out there that can replace you within that occupation and that position and that job. If you feel uncomfortable working for Netflix after hearing those jokes, you know what? Fine by me. I personally wouldn't be, but that's just me, and I'm a different person. You're not sending a message. Netflix isn't just going to stop production of the show because a few people are quitting. You're just going to get replaced by somebody who either has equivalent or better talent in your field. And as for the other workers at Netflix who have legitimately attempted to sabotage the proceedings of this show, that's just immature, pointless, and dumb. There were reports of an employee leaking financial documents regarding Dave's show. There were reports of Netflix workers infiltrating meetings that were designated for, higher up individuals. They were supposed to be private meetings that ended up being infiltrated by these Netflix writers or workers, what have you. You have the right to quit your job. You have the right to your freedom of speech, and you have the right to exercise your opinion about it, just like I am right now. But you do not have the right to go fuck it up for everybody else, and that goes for anybody. That goes for the workers that are trying to fuck this entire thing up for Netflix and for David Chappelle himself, and that also goes for the individuals who are offended by this and are trying to cancel Dave Chappelle on fucking Twitter and Reddit and shit. A bunch of trans employees also planned, I guess, some sort of walkout yesterday in protest of the whole Dave Chappelle stand-up special. I have no idea if this actually went down. I have no idea if they actually executed on this. I assume they did, but that was yesterday, and I have no idea. To best of my knowledge, there's been no other reports about it. And to all the people who are claiming that Netflix as a whole is somehow transphobic, I mean, that's just dumb, because the only trans employees who have been fired for doing dumbass shit that they're not supposed to do within the company. A trans employee was fired for leaking financial documents that are supposed to be confidential. A trans employee was fired for infiltrating a meeting that she was specifically, or he or she or they, was not supposed to be a part of, that they were not supposed to join. All the job quitting and getting fired for doing dumb things, it's not going to affect Netflix at all. I'm telling you that right now. You're fighting against corporate millionaires. Now, are the people who are working at Netflix God send, amazing people? Absolutely not. But are they all transphobic? No. They aired a singular comedy special that has a few trans jokes in it. And if you find these jokes funny, I don't blame you. They're kind of clever. I personally didn't bust my gut laughing about it, but I could totally understand people finding these jokes funny. It's just getting really old seeing all these people act like exercising dark humor somehow leads to the end of the world. You could just try to make the world an actual better place by stopping legitimate transphobia and legitimate, acts of hatred, acts of racism, etc. Not canceling somebody for making a joke. Like you're specifically choosing the least efficient way to make the world a better place. You're protesting against jokes. You're protesting against comedy. Dave Chappelle is out here doing what he loves to do. He's out here pursuing his passion of stand-up comedy, and I support it. Now, do I think that he has to make these jokes in order to be successful, or do I think he has to make these jokes in order to pursue his dreams? No. Canceling him is just dumb as hell. There's also this video here that you'll see where this man enters a anti-Dave Chappelle protest, I guess, with a sign that says "We like Chappelle" or some shit. I can't remember off the top of my head what it said right now, but I mean, you'll see in the video. And they just straight up completely fucking demolish his sign, they completely butt-fuck the sign to shreds. Now, morally, should this guy have went and intentionally infiltrated these people's protest? Probably not. I mean, I guess he has the right to, if he wants to project his opinion out there in that way, but the reaction of the protesters was far worse than his. I mean, on a real level, what the fuck is this lady doing? What does she genuinely think that forming an invisible bubble around him with her arms, what does she think that's gonna fucking do? This man could literally lift his pinky and she would be blown into dust. And being as popular as David Chappelle, I mean, there's always going to be people out there who don't like you, regardless of how famous you are or how many people are following you. There's always going to be if you're famous, there's always going to be a large group of people who don't like you. Now, the only difference between different celebrities is how well the reasoning behind that hatred is. And this entire movement of hating Dave Chappelle is largely based on a mob mentality of emotion rather than actual logic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I continue to talk about this whole scenario, this whole situation, I myself will end up canceled. I'm probably going to end up canceled already just for making this video, but regardless, hope you enjoyed. Leave a like or a dislike or a comment if you agree or disagree. Subscribe, join, do whatever you want to do, and I'll see you guys whenever.